Alden Richards caught between two stories, Maine Mendoza's legacy and Nadine Lustre's new wave of buzz. In the ever-watchful world of Philippine showbiz, even the smallest interaction can spark massive conversations. Recently, online discussions have been buzzing with a new narrative surrounding Alden Richards, as fans and entertainment watchers speculate about his name being caught between two stories. One rooted in his unforgettable past with Maine Mendoza, and another linked to rising curiosity involving Nadine Lustre. While there is no confirmed real-life conflict or official statement tying these names together romantically or otherwise, the online buzz reflects something deeper: the way fans continuously shape narratives around their favorite stars. For Alden, this isn't new territory. As one of the most recognized actors in the Philippines, his personal and professional life has often been placed under a microscope. From his breakthrough ALDUB phenomenon with Maine Mendoza to his current solo projects, every chapter of his career has carried strong public emotional investment. The ALDUB era, in particular, remains a defining force. Fans still associate Alden and Maine with a rare kind of magic, one that felt spontaneous, heartfelt, and deeply emotional. Even years later, their pairing continues to trend whenever nostalgia resurfaces online. For many supporters, that chapter is not just past entertainment, but a lasting emotional memory that shaped a generation of viewers. This is why any new narrative involving Alden often gets compared to that iconic pairing. The emotional weight of ALDUB still lingers, creating a kind of invisible standard that everything else is measured against. At the same time, the mention of Nadine Lustre in online conversations has added a fresh layer of curiosity. Known for her strong screen presence and independent artistic identity, Nadine has built her own solid fan base and career path. However, like many popular celebrities, even casual mentions or imagined pairings can quickly escalate into trending discussions. Fans on social media have been quick to create what-if scenarios, editing photos and imagining crossover projects or potential chemistry between stars who have never officially been linked in any confirmed context. It's a familiar pattern in modern fandom culture, where storytelling doesn't always come from studios, but from audiences themselves. Still, industry observers emphasize an important point. These narratives are largely fan-driven imagination, rather than real-life developments. Neither Alden, Maine, nor Nadine has made any public statements suggesting any personal conflict or romantic overlap. Instead, what exists is a blend of nostalgia, admiration, and curiosity. For Alden himself, the challenge often lies in navigating public perception while staying focused on his craft. Being associated with multiple high-profile names and past love teams can sometimes create pressure, especially when fans project emotional expectations onto his present and future projects. Yet, those close to him often describe him as someone who remains grounded despite the noise. He continues to prioritize his work, his personal growth, and his responsibilities as an actor, rather than engaging in speculation. Meanwhile, Maine Mendoza's legacy in his journey remains undeniably strong. Their shared history continues to be referenced not just by fans, but by entertainment commentators as one of the most impactful love teams in Philippine television history. Even without active projects together, the emotional imprint they left behind continues to influence public perception. This is where the caught between two stories narrative becomes more symbolic than literal. It reflects how audiences struggle to separate past emotions from present realities. One story represents nostalgia and emotional memory. The other represents curiosity and evolving possibilities. But in truth, Alden is not trapped between stories. He is simply moving forward in his own direction while the audience continues to write interpretations around him. In entertainment, this is almost inevitable. Popular figures often become mirrors for public emotion. People project memories, hopes, and even fantasies onto them. And in doing so, multiple stories can exist at the same time. Some real, some imagined, and some purely emotional. As the conversations continue online, one thing remains clear. Alden Richards remains one of the most talked about figures in Philippine showbiz, not because of controversy, but because of connection. People care about his journey, his past, and his future, And whether it's memories with Maine Mendoza or speculative curiosity involving other stars like Nadine Lustre, these discussions ultimately say more about the audience's emotional attachment than about any confirmed reality. In the end, Alden's story isn't defined by being caught between anything. It's defined by growth, evolution, and a career that continues to unfold, one chapter at a time. And as that story continues to unfold, what often gets lost in the noise of online speculation is the simplest truth. Real people are not characters written to fit competing narratives. For Alden Richards, every phase of his career has been shaped by work, discipline, and consistency, rather than the shifting interpretations of social media. The comparisons, the what-if pairings, and the overlapping fan theories may dominate timelines, but they don't necessarily reflect the reality of his day-to-day life. What remains constant is his professional focus. Whether he is working on television dramas, films, or hosting projects, Alden has built a reputation around reliability and emotional depth in his performances. That same emotional depth is often what makes fans attach meaning to his past and present collaborations, especially those involving Maine Mendoza. Their shared history is still one of the most discussed love team eras in Philippine entertainment, not because it continues in the present, but because it left a lasting emotional footprint. Many fans still associate that period with sincerity, excitement, and a kind of storytelling that felt personal. And when something leaves that strong of an impression, it naturally becomes a reference point for everything that follows. That is also why any mention of new pairings or rumored dynamics, including discussions involving Nadine Lustre, quickly gains attention. It is less about actual developments and more about how audiences try to connect dots between different eras of entertainment. But in reality, these stories exist more in fandom spaces than in the personal lives of the celebrities themselves. Industry insiders and observers often point out that modern celebrity culture has shifted. It is no longer just about projects released on screen. It is also about how audiences continuously reinterpret those projects long after they end. A single actor can be placed into multiple imagined narratives at once, depending on what fans remember, feel, or hope for. Alden, in this sense, becomes a symbolic figure in different emotional timelines. One tied to nostalgia and emotional intensity from the ALDUB era with Maine Mendoza. Another tied to current curiosity and evolving entertainment conversations. And another that exists outside of shipping culture entirely, focused purely on his individual career growth. These layers don't compete in real life, but they do in online discourse. Still, those who have followed him closely note that Alden has always handled public attention with restraint. He rarely engages in fan debates or speculative narratives. Instead, he allows his work to speak for him, gradually shifting the focus back to what he is actively building rather than what people imagine. That approach has helped him maintain longevity in an industry where public perception changes quickly. While fan theories rise and fall, his career continues moving forward in a steady, grounded way. At the same time, it is important to understand why these narratives persist. They are not created out of malice. In many cases, they come from admiration, emotional investment, and the human tendency to find stories in everything we enjoy. Fans connect deeply with celebrities because those celebrities have in some way been part of their personal memories. But there is also a fine line between appreciation and assumption. When fiction begins to replace fact, it can unintentionally create pressure around real people, especially when their names are constantly placed into competing narratives that they never chose. That is why many supporters of Alden, Maine Mendoza, and Nadine Lustre often remind others to separate entertainment from reality. It is possible to appreciate past chemistry, admire current talent, and still respect personal boundaries all at once. Because in the end, what truly lasts is not the speculation, but the work, the performances people remember, the stories that touched audiences, the moments that made people feel something real. And for Alden Richards, that is where his legacy continues to grow, not between competing stories, but beyond them.